his thoughts and what he said, his thinking on that has not changed. It has not.
So I thought we were supposed to get a peaceful transfer of power, but it's looking like another resistance. Biden's sabotaging Trump's plan to end the Ukraine war. He's handing Zelensky long-range American-made missiles, and he's shooting them deep into Russia. Now Putin's putting the nuclear option on the table. So before Trump even gets into office, he's going to have to wiggle his way out of World War III. Plus, Joe's sending every last dollar into Ukraine and billions more to his green buddies to build windmills and chargers. And now he's putting together a high-speed conveyor belt for migrants to come in before Trump does. He's giving, you remember the Open Table for Illegals app? It's getting an upgrade. Biden's new app lets Jose and Maria stay in the country and skip having to check in with ICE. It's really just an app to make illegals invisible. It's like an app to keep them in the
Jose and Maria? What?
Shadows. So Tom Homan has a harder time finding them. This after DA Alvin Bragg's assistant just got mugged by an illegal Venezuelan gangbanger with a lengthy rap sheet. Meanwhile, Democrat governors and mayors.
Yeah, did you guys hear about that? The DA, right? The Alvin Bragg's assistant. Alvin Bragg's assistant was actually mugged, which was pretty insane. Alvin Bragg's assistant. Let me see if I can find that for you guys. Yeah, Manhattan Alvin Bragg's assistant was robbed and attacked by an illegal migrant with 5 arrests since 2023. He's a Venezuelan Tren de Aragua gang member. Yeah, and the taxpayers paid for his hotel. Isn't that ironic? Isn't that crazy?
They're building a wall, but it's not the kind of wall you think. They're building walls of cops around their cities to keep ICE out.
We're not going to cooperate. We're not going to ask our police force to serve as ICE agents. Come on. We're not going to do that. We're going to do everything in our power to protect people in this city. Everything. So in other words, we will do whatever is necessary.
It's unlawful.
You see what I mean? Look, I say no to civil war. I say no to it. But bro, civil chaos is coming to the United States no matter how you look at it. Look at the attitude of the mayor of Chicago. Look at his attitude. He's going to surround Chicago with nothing but cops to make sure the ICE agents and the military don't get in. What?
Can't use the military. You can't do mass deportations. We're not going to do that.
So, and the mayor of Denver says you're going to see Tiananmen Square like resistance. What does that mean? ICE agents are going to show up to Denver and they're going to get into a Mexican standoff with the local sheriff. Liberals are going to stand in front of ICE vans. What, to protect illegal rapists from?
It's going to be a shit show in the United States of America.
From getting picked up and flown home. ICE agents aren't calling the mayor of Denver and saying, you know, we're coming to 16th Street tomorrow at 7 o'clock to round up Biden migrants. No, it's not happening that way. These federal fugitive teams are going to show up whenever they want, wherever they want, and local yokel liberals aren't going to have a clue. No one's stopping that. Republicans have the will of the people at their back and walking around with a new confidence. The squad tried to get smart at a hearing yesterday, and Clay Higgins from Louisiana told her what time it is.
Please keep Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s name out of your mouths. Yes. Your perversion of his words and his mission when his children have asked you to stop invoking his name and perverting his work when he was a proud and unapologetic Black man. I'm not surprised that you would deny American history.
I appreciate my Democrat colleague for exemplifying exactly the kind of oppression of freedoms that we're referencing. How about we'll quote whoever we want to quote? That's exactly the kind of baked-in oppression. Like, how dare a white Republican quote Martin Luther King? We actually had a congressman say that just now.
Democrats are fracturing into two camps. The
resistance
faction, who learned nothing from November 5th and is going to basically lay sticks of dynamite down on the tracks of the Trump train. The other faction is going to start listening. They're going to pick their battles, but cooperate where they can. Millions on the left define themselves by what they're against, Trump. But now the resistance is kind of petering out. They don't know who they are. Newsom diagnosed it this way. He says, a lot of people feel like they're losing their identity or losing their future. And he's hitting the streets of California, kind of like Johnny, to figure out why his state moved right. But Gavin doesn't need a listening tour. It's common sense. Trump's already making plans to revive the Keystone Pipeline. Europe's preparing for a peace summit. And in Jerusalem, they're putting up banners that say, welcome back, dear friend. The world's ready to move on from Biden. America's ready. Even Democrats are ready.
Even though they're really trying to sabotage they're really trying. And look, this is what I see. What's crazy about this whole thing, and we got to talk about, of course, the Putin situation, right, where he's threatening to strike U.S. facilities. But what I see happening here is a form of pushback that is actually not good, right? So we know that 77 million people voted for Donald J. Trump. He won the electoral college votes. He even won the popular vote. But what we're seeing now is Democrats beginning to warn Republicans and beginning to warn Donald J. Trump that they will not accept mass deportations, that they would not accept any of this, that in fact they would legitimately, as one mayor said, Tiananmen Square pushback. Anybody knows Tiananmen Square, then you guys know what happened. You guys know the type of pushback against the government that happened, right? This was in China, and this was in 1993 or 94, if I'm not mistaken, in the 90s, early 90s. And we know what happened. And the fact that mayors are talking in that way just doesn't seem like we're headed in the right direction at all. It doesn't seem like American politicians on the left are actually going to try and let Donald J. Trump do what he was elected to do, which is just pretty crazy. So that's what we have going on in the United States of America domestically. Now we're going to go into the foreign side of things, where we saw legitimately one of the craziest things happen that a lot of people aren't paying attention to. Take a listen.
So 4 days after President Biden allowed Ukraine to strike parts of Russia with U.S. built and proffered missiles, Putin is threatening to retaliate with strikes against U.S. facilities and says his military hit Ukraine today with a medium-range hypersonic ballistic missile. The Pentagon just responded moments ago. Watch this.
We've seen this type of, dangerous, reckless rhetoric before from President Putin. What we're focused on is continuing to support Ukraine with what it needs.
Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst reports live from Kyiv. He has been watching all of this up close and was in the tunnels with President Zelensky just the other day. Trey, what about this new development?
Yeah, Martha, good afternoon. We know that overnight, Russia launched a new missile into Ukraine, targeting the southern city of Dnipro. This was the first time that such a large weapon was used on the battlefield since this conflict began 2.5 years ago. And it raises questions about the message that Russia is trying to send. Ukraine initially claimed the missile was an intercontinental ballistic missile, but Russian President Putin says it was an intermediate ballistic missile. The Russian leader said in the future, civilians will be warned to leave areas where more advanced missiles will be launched. Putin added this about the involvement of the West.
We consider ourselves in the right to use our weapons against those nations that use their weapons against us. And in terms of escalation, we will respond as surely and clearly.
The escalation comes as Ukrainian forces are now targeting deeper into Russia using U.S. and British-supplied long-range missiles, while overnight, the Biden administration approved the transfer of anti-personnel mines to Ukraine. These moves are seen by the Russians as crossing a red line, prompting officials here in Kyiv to brace for an increase in missile and drone attacks.
Yeah, so once again, ladies and gentlemen, you see what's going on domestically, you see what's going on internationally. I want to play this video because this is crazy. This is like one of the first times in history ever. Russia fired experimental hypersonic ballistic missiles on Ukraine, says Putin.
This video, posted by Ukrainian military bloggers, purports to show multiple projectiles landing on the Ukrainian city of Dnipro just before dawn. That's what you'd expect from...
That looks insane, guys. That looks crazy.
A ballistic missile, the release of many payloads as it approaches its target. And this evening, Vladimir Putin said that Russia had hit the city with an...
Oh, look at that. That looks UFO type, right? That looks like just coming out of the sky like that. It looks insane.
new medium-range ballistic missile after Kyiv used Western-supplied weapons to strike inside Russia.
In response to the use of American and British long-range weapons, on the 21st of November, the Russian armed forces carried out a combined strike on one of Ukraine's military-industrial complex sites. In combat conditions, a test was carried out on one of the latest Russian intermediate-range missile systems, in this case with a non-nuclear hypersonic version of a ballistic missile. The test was successful. The target was reached.
This is thought to be the first time these types of missiles have been used by Russia on Ukraine during the full-scale invasion. It's retaliation for this. Tuesday this week, after Joe Biden finally granted permission, American attack-ins used to hit targets inside Russia. Yesterday, the British Storm Shadow system deployed.
Just imagine us going, like, imagine if this is like Mexico and the United States of America, just how close they are to each other as far as Ukraine and Russia goes. Just imagine living with that fear every day you wake up like, man, I don't know what the hell is about to happen, man.
In the same way, the strike on Dnipro is the Russian response. Today, President Zelensky met with the British Chief of Defense Staff in Kyiv. Before Putin confirmed this was a medium-range ballistic missile, his response to today's strike.
Today, there was a new Russian missile. All the characteristics, speed, altitude, indicate it was an intercontinental ballistic missile. An investigation is currently underway.
And with all due respect, get the fuck out of here, man. With all due respect.
It's obvious that Putin is using Ukraine as a training ground.
Ballistic missiles can be short-range, stay within the Earth's atmosphere, medium-range up to 200 miles, and long-range or intercontinental, capable of full orbital flight outside the Earth's atmosphere. They can be fitted with both conventional and nuclear warheads. Today's strike in Dnipro with the conventional variety, more about Moscow showing what they could do than what they did.
It's politically quite significant. These kind of weapons are largely designed and intended to deliver nuclear warheads that effectively are used to destroy cities or very large targets. By using this kind of weapon, the Russians are sending a message that they're prepared to up the ante and potentially play around with whether or not they are preparing a kind of nuclear launch.
The Russian Foreign Ministry press conference was interrupted today. The spokeswoman briefed over the phone and on an open mic about what not to say about the strikes.
Алло. Да, у меня брифинг.
What?
Да, хорошо, спасибо. С нами ли News.ru?
The place mentioned in the call,
what?
Uzmash, is a Ukrainian aerospace manufacturer in Dnipro. During Soviet times, produced nuclear missiles. The worry, with today's escalation, a step closer to history repeating itself.
God.
More about Moscow.
So that's what we have going on. Like I said, domestic problems with immigration. We got all hell breaking loose right now, Chicago, major cities all over the United States of America. Then we have the Putin fiasco right now when it comes to the United States of America. He keeps warning the United States of America. So we got a lot to talk about when it comes to that. Yeah, right now we're getting some updates from who Trump is going to. Interesting. Who Trump is going to put as FBI director. We're going to be pretty much keeping up with all of that. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot going on. We got a lot going on in the world of politics, specifically in the United States of America. So yeah, we're going to see what happens, man. We're going to see what happens. I don't think Putin is messing around. And like I said, look, he just showed that if he were to really use these ballistic missiles, he could do some big time damage. He could do some big time damage. So we'll see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to smash the like button. Let me know what you guys think about all of this.